The scandal didn't whisper, it exploded. A father fighting for his life, his leg amputated in a desperate race against death, while his daughter stood smiling for cameras in a hospital thousands of miles away. 2 hospitals, 2 patients, 2 amputations, and between them, silence. A silence so loud that people around the world started asking one chilling question: was this timing a coincidence or something far more calculated?
Again, you should be ashamed of yourself to show your face in public.
It's one of those extraordinary moments that will define Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in the same way that going ahead with the Oprah Winfrey interview while Prince Philip was dying in hospital literally did. Overnight, Thomas Markle was battling in surgery for his life in the Philippines. Save me your fake concern, Ms. Markle. Given your own father has had his leg removed, is in a foreign hospital, and you couldn't be bothered to get on a plane, but indeed, you couldn't have been bothered to pick up the phone. And I'm not surprised that your brother, Thomas Markle Jr., is completely outraged by the way that you have behaved.
It began with a moment so brutal it barely felt real. No warning, no time to prepare, just a sudden collapse of health that spiraled into a life or death emergency. Doctors moved fast, terrifyingly fast. There was no miracle coming around the corner, no second opinion to buy time, no gentle recovery plan. The verdict came down like a hammer. The leg had to come off immediately or the man wouldn't survive. In those sterile hospital walls, surgeons weren't negotiating with fate. They were fighting it. And somewhere in the middle of that chaos sat a name the world knows very well: the father of Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle's fake royal tour of the Middle East just got a hell of a lot worse. Not only are there Hamas connections, she is being slammed for the way that she dealt with this amputee girl, given that her own father is currently going through the process of being fitted for a prosthetic leg in the Philippines, and she hasn't been in touch with him at all.
What you do is jeopardize the monarchy, the real members of the British royal family. When you go do these trips, you don't do any of your due diligence. You end up at places associated with, a certified terrorist organization.
She loves that because anything Harry, or rather William and Kate, does, they can do better. So William was in the Middle East only 2 weeks ago. Suddenly, Harry and Meghan are in the Middle East.
The emergency unfolded in December. Fast, brutal, the kind of medical nightmare that tears through a family before anyone even understands what's happening. Thomas Markle Sr., 81 years old and living quietly in the Philippines, suddenly found himself at the center of a terrifying crisis. His son rushed him to the hospital as doctors scrambled for answers. Tests, scans, alarms. Within hours, the diagnosis dropped like a thunderclap, a dangerous blood clot cutting off circulation. His foot was turning blue, then black. Every minute counted. Delay meant death.
In the principal's head, her father is now dead to her. And it was an astonishing briefing to me. And she has stuck by that. But I just remind everyone that until Harry came on the scene, she had a very close relationship with this man.
3 relentless hours later, the surgeons made the call that would change his life forever. Below-the-knee amputation. Not a choice, a necessity, life or death. And just like that, the man who once walked freely through life was suddenly facing a new reality. Prosthetic limbs, painful rehab, and a future rebuilt step by fragile step. Every movement now takes effort. Every day is a reminder of how close he came to losing everything. But here's where the story twists. Because while one hospital room held a father fighting to stand again, another hospital room, thousands of miles away, was preparing for cameras.
All right, I do blame Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, the shit stain of humanity. Yes, Meghan, and I hope you're watching right now. I hope you're watching, Meghan, because you are the shit stain of fucking humanity. You're a disgrace. And I hope people spit in your face when they see you walking down the street. I hope, they throw human feces at you because of how you really are as a person inside.
Across the world in Jordan, a very different scene unfolded. Meghan Markle arrived at a hospital visit. She entered a room, sat beside a 14-year-old patient she had never met. The gesture looked compassionate, gentle, carefully framed. The cameras were ready before she even sat down.
Meghan, as we know, is the queen of terrible timing. anything that she seems to do seems to come with the most appalling timing, whether it's, from leaving the royal family itself into the teeth of COVID, or anything that she does seems to have this incredible failure to think through the context of what she's acting in.
She held the girl's hand softly while photographers snapped image after image. Flash, flash, flash. Headlines exploded almost instantly. The photos spread across social media within minutes, capturing what appeared to be a moment of quiet humanity. But the timing made people stop scrolling and start questioning, because the contrast was impossible to ignore. On one side of the world, an elderly father was learning to live without his leg. On the other side, his daughter was being photographed beside another amputee patient during a humanitarian visit organized through the World Health Organization. And then another layer of drama slipped quietly into the story. Observers noticed something strange, something missing. The royal family of Jordan appeared to be keeping their distance. No high-profile greetings, no royal photo opportunities, no public welcome from Queen Rania. The silence began to feel deliberate, and the timeline made everything even more explosive. December 2nd, 2025. Thomas Markle Sr. collapses into a medical emergency. Blood clot, failing circulation, doctors racing the clock. Within hours, surgeons remove his leg to save his life. The news spreads publicly. The family scrambles to cope with the shock. Meanwhile, far away, the humanitarian trip continues as planned. But the next detail sparked an even louder reaction. Instead of a phone call, instead of a hospital visit, instead of flying to see him in person, the message reportedly came through a letter delivered through intermediaries. Not a voice, not a hug, just words on paper reaching a man recovering from major surgery. And then the Jordan trip moved forward. Inside another hospital room, cameras rolled again. The teenage patient Meghan visited was a girl from Gaza named Maria, her life shattered by an explosion that left severe burns and the loss of toes on her right foot. The pain of her recovery was unimaginable. Sometimes doctors had to change her bandages under anesthesia because the agony was unbearable. Yet during the visit, cameras were present even as she showed her injuries. Photographers stood ready while the moment unfolded publicly instead of privately. Social media erupted almost instantly. Some people praised the humanitarian attention. Others asked a far darker question. Was the moment meant for compassion or for optics? Then came another clip that viewers replayed again and again. At a roundtable meeting with Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, cameras captured Meghan stepping forward to greet him before Prince Harry could move. The moment lasted only seconds, but the internet froze it, dissected it, replayed it frame by frame. Comment sections exploded with theories. Was it a simple social misstep or another signal of something deeper unfolding between the couple themselves? And hovering above all of it was the quiet absence of Jordan's most famous royal figure. Queen Rania, a woman with strong ties to the British monarchy, never appeared publicly beside them during the visit. No joint appearance, no photo, no welcome greeting. The only Jordanian royal briefly seen during the trip was Princess Basma bint Talal, and even that appearance was fleeting. In royal diplomacy, presence speaks loudly, but absence can scream. And suddenly, the story wasn't just about one trip anymore. It became a puzzle of gestures, silences, and carefully framed images. A father recovering in one hospital, a daughter photographed in another. Royal doors quietly closed, cameras carefully positioned. Two hospitals, two amputations, two narratives unfolding at the exact same time. And somewhere in the middle of it all, people around the world started asking the question no headline could fully answer. And that's where the story starts to feel less like coincidence and more like a trail of tiny clues quietly pointing in the same direction. Because once the cameras stopped flashing in that hospital room in Jordan, people didn't stop watching. In fact, that's when the scrutiny truly exploded. Viewers began replaying every moment from the visit, frame by frame, gesture by gesture, trying to understand what exactly they were seeing unfold in front of them. The patient at the center of that moment was Maria, a 14-year-old girl from Gaza whose life had already been reshaped by unimaginable trauma. An explosion had left her with devastating burns and the loss of the toes on her right foot. Doctors described her recovery as long, painful, and emotionally exhausting. At times, the pain was so severe that bandage changes had to be done under anesthesia because the suffering was simply too intense. Yet during that visit, when Maria was asked to show her injuries, cameras were already positioned nearby. Photographers captured the moment while the conversation unfolded in real time. Some viewers praised the attention brought to children injured by war. Others felt deeply uncomfortable watching what appeared to be an intensely private medical moment unfolding under flashing cameras. And then something small, almost invisible, happened. For just a brief second, the polished smile on the face of Meghan Markle appeared to slip. Observers online described the expression as a flicker of raw emotion, a moment of discomfort that lasted barely an instant before the public composure returned. But in the age of slow motion and viral clips, even a second can become a headline. That tiny shift sparked thousands of comments. People dissected the footage endlessly, wondering whether the reaction revealed something real or whether the pressure of the moment simply caught anyone off guard. Meanwhile, a completely different conversation was growing louder online. Critics began pointing to the enormous financial contrast surrounding the situation. Reports suggested that the Archewell Foundation had contributed roughly $500,000 toward humanitarian projects connected to the visit. Large donations like that often come with what organizations call donor stewardship visits, where contributors travel to see programs in action and meet the people being helped. On paper, that explanation sounded reasonable, but people quickly started asking the next question. If the foundation contributed funds, who paid for the rest of the trip? Flights across continents, security teams, police escorts, hotels, motorcades, media production crews, wardrobe changes. The logistics of a high-profile international visit can cost staggering amounts of money, and none of those details appeared clearly in public reports. Observers pointed out that after restructuring the Archewell organization, there had been reports of staff reductions and project cuts. Yet here was a trip that looked anything but scaled down. Cameras everywhere, carefully staged photo opportunities, professional coverage from a controlled press team traveling alongside the couple, and the deeper viewers looked, the more controlled the imagery seemed to be. Unlike traditional royal tours where large press pools follow every step, this trip operated very differently. Media access was tightly restricted. The couple traveled with one carefully selected reporter and one photographer from their own team. That meant almost every image the public saw came through a controlled lens, curated angles, curated reactions, curated moments. For critics, it reinforced the perception that every frame was part of a carefully designed narrative. Supporters argued that controlling media access protects humanitarian visits from becoming chaotic press events, but the debate itself only intensified. At the same time, another quiet layer of symbolism slipped into the story. During a reception hosted by the British ambassador in Amman, the couple were introduced using their full royal styling, Hirsch Prince Harry and Hirsch Meghan Markle. That detail immediately caught the attention of political commentators. Years earlier, agreements with the British palace stated that those words titles would not be used commercially after the couple stepped back from official royal duties. Yet here they were, appearing again in a diplomatic setting. For some observers, it raised a complicated question. Were they private citizens, or were parts of the establishment still treating them as working royals behind the scenes? But even that wasn't the detail that fueled the loudest reactions, because while the visit included tours of hospitals, humanitarian centers, and even the renowned King Hussein Cancer Center in Jordan, something striking happened there too. During the visit, no public remarks were made about two people whose lives have recently been deeply affected by cancer, King Charles III and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Both have faced serious health battles in recent years. Catherine's recovery in particular has been widely followed around the world. Yet during a tour of one of the region's most advanced cancer treatment facilities, their names were never mentioned publicly. That silence immediately ignited another wave of speculation online. Some people argued it was simply a humanitarian visit focused on Jordanian medical efforts. Others wondered whether the absence reflected the continuing tension between the Sussexes and the rest of the British royal family. But if there was one absence that truly dominated the conversation, it was the absence of Queen Rania. The Jordanian queen has long-standing relationships with the British royal family. She attended the wedding of Prince William and Catherine years earlier, and diplomatic ties between Jordan and Britain run deep through decades of shared ceremonies, state visits, and personal friendships. Yet during this entire visit, there were no photographs, no greetings, no joint appearances between Queen Rania and the Sussexes. The only Jordanian royal who briefly appeared during the trip was Princess Basma bint Talal, and even that moment was short and quickly over. For royal watchers, that kind of absence speaks volumes. In diplomatic circles, visibility matters. A handshake, a shared stage, even a single photograph can signal approval and cooperation. When those gestures don't happen, observers begin reading the silence like a coded message. Some analysts suggested scheduling conflicts where the the reason, but others pointed to the fact that during the same period, King Abdullah II was holding meetings with global leaders and international officials, including the Director General of the World Health Organization. The schedule clearly allowed room for high-level meetings, just not one that included the Sussexes. And then the contrast returned once again to the place where this entire story began. Back in the Philippines, Thomas Markle Sr. was beginning the long, exhausting process of learning to walk again with a prosthetic leg. Rehabilitation sessions, pain management, emotional adjustment. Each step forward came with enormous physical effort. In interviews, he admitted something heartbreakingly simple. He hoped he would meet his grandchildren one day before it was too late. Despite everything, he said he still loved his daughter and did not want to die estranged from her. But according to public reports, communication between them still came only through a letter delivered by intermediaries. No direct phone calls, no hospital visit, just words sent across continents while both father and daughter appeared in very different hospitals during the same week. And that's why the debate exploded the way it did, because the public wasn't just reacting to headlines anymore. They were watching timelines, studying footage, and connecting moments that seemed impossible to ignore. A father learning to walk again after losing his leg. A daughter photographed beside another amputee patient in a hospital across the world. Royal doors that quietly stayed closed. Cameras carefully positioned before every encounter. Silences where people expected words. Some people saw compassion. Others saw contradiction. And still, others saw something even stranger, a story that seemed carefully staged on the surface but filled with unanswered questions underneath, which leaves one final mystery hanging in the air. When public figures move through moments like these, gestures, appearances, carefully framed visits, are we witnessing genuine compassion or watching a narrative being built piece by piece in front of us? Because sometimes the loudest clues in a story are not the things people say. Sometimes it's the things they never say at all.